Pricing my digital agency services has allowed me to charge clients upwards of 15K a month just for managing their Google ads. And in this video, I'm going to show you the exact framework that I use to price my own digital agency services that allowed me to scale to $75,000 a month. Let's get straight into it. This framework consists of 4 parts: the model that you charge your clients by, the amount that you charge up, down, and cross sells, and lastly, the perception or the packaging of your pricing. These are ranked based on importance. So model is the most important aspect of your pricing. Then you have the amount, then you have the up, down, and cross sells, and lastly, the perception. So let's get straight into the different models that you could be pricing your services by. You have a retainer model and you have a performance model. Only these two exist, and each one has its benefits and its drawbacks. The retainer model is close to the money, but it is difficult to sell. And what I mean by close to the money is that the loop from you signing a client till that client paying you and that money hitting your bank account is very, very short. You can get people to pay your invoice directly on the call and the money hits your bank account basically immediately, but it is much more difficult to sell because the risk is on the client and not on you. So if you deliver a bad service, the client still has to pay you, and there is nothing that stops you from basically taking their money and running. So they have all the risk in such a scenario, while on a performance model, you have higher average invoices and it is easier to sell, but it is unpredictable and it is far from the money. So far from the money is just the opposite of close to the money. It takes at least a month for the money to hit your bank account because you have to actually deliver some results to charge a performance on those results. And it is unpredictable because it goes up and down every single month. So November is usually a very good month for digital agencies because people spend a lot of money in November. You have Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all of these big sales. So usually your invoice in, for example, November will be twice, maybe 3 times as high as it would be in January or one of the other low months. But it is easier to sell because all the risk is on you. If you don't deliver a good service, you don't get paid. And it has a higher average invoice because the amount that you charge is only up to you. If you deliver a better service, you get paid more, and clients are completely okay with paying you 7, 8, 9K a month for managing their ads on a single platform if you earn them 80, 90, 100K a month. So it is much easier to charge a higher average invoice, especially in the beginning. Because of all of these reasons, I always recommend agency owners below 25K a month to start with performance, because these 2 points, having a higher average invoice and making it easier to sell, is much more important to you than it being predictable. With time, now that my agency is nearing in on 100K a month, we are transitioning to retainers because the predictability and the closeness to the money is much more important to us now than having a higher average invoice. So if you are just getting started, use performance, and you have a couple of different types of performance. You have a percentage of spend, you have KPI based one-time bonuses, and you have a percentage of revenue. So percentage of spend, I don't recommend this performance model because it incentivizes you to do the completely wrong thing for the client. It incentivizes you to increase the spend, which is not usually what is the best course of action to deliver better results for your clients. So you are working towards 2 different goals. It creates a lot of animosity and just hurt feelings. So I don't like percentage of spend. KPI based one-time bonuses are better. Those are bonuses that hit on a certain KPI. So you say, once we hit 100K in spend a month, we will get a 2K bonus, or once we generate you guys $500,000 in revenue in a single month, we get a 5K bonus, something like that. It sets very specific KPIs, but it is not ideal because those bonuses are one time, not recurring. So with time, you can just drain out those bonuses and you will not be receiving any more performance. So I prefer percentage of revenue. So percentage of revenue is just what it says. You take a percentage of what you generate the client in terms of revenue. When you are running paid ads, that is a percentage of the ROAS, return on ad spend. If you are running email marketing, that is a percentage of the revenue that you generate through your emails that you send out. This can be including spend and excluding spend. This is for paid ads. So including spend is when you have, for example, 10K in spend a single month, and then you have 50K in revenue. So you have a 5x ROAS. You spent 10K, you generated them 50K. including spend, you will take performance on those 50K, while excluding spend, you will take performance on the 50K minus the ad spend. So you will take the 50K, subtract the 10K you spent in ad spend, and take a performance on that. And I prefer this model because you don't really deserve to take performance on the first 10K because the 10K was spent and the client would have had that money anyways, were you there or not. So I prefer not to take performance on the spend, and then everything above that I take a performance on. And the usual percentage here is 5%. So 5% of ROAS over ad spend is the default model at my agency. Perfect, we've chosen the model. As I said, recommend you to use a performance model that is a percentage of revenue. Next is the amount that we are going to be charging. There's a lot to break down here because it is not as straightforward as you might think. You have 3 different types of prices. You have low prices, you have medium prices, and you have high prices. Low prices, no go, less than 1.5K a month, never go here. There is just no point. You will not be able to deliver a good service when you are charging less than 1.5K a month. The client will not really be committed to the process since they are paying you so little. So low prices is a no-go. Medium prices, here is when up, down, and cross sells come in, which I will talk about later. But the main pricing for your services should always be in the high pricing range, which is anywhere around 7K a month. So 6K a month and up is where you should aim to price your services. And I'm not saying that you should be overcharging your customers because there exists this price to value ratio. You should always give the person a lot more value than what you charge them. In my mind, 10x is always the figure. So if you charge 6K a month for your services, you should earn them at least 60K a month in profit through your service. So if you want to increase your prices, you just have to deliver more value to the client. It's that easy, and then it becomes completely up to you to make that happen. So as you see, simple graph, how much you can charge versus value. The more value you provide, the higher prices you can charge your clients. This all comes down to this flywheel of price and perceived value. Perceived value dictates the price, and the price dictates what kind of perceived value you have to be generating. And notice the word perceived value and not necessarily value, because value is completely subjective. What may be super valuable to one person is not valuable to another. So make sure that you optimize for perceived value and not necessarily value. So if there are things you could implement like faster reporting that would increase the perceived value of your service, do that instead of trying to earn them a higher return on the ads. For example, there are lots of elements that could be increasing the perceived value. So think outside the box and not just directly what you see on your screen, because there are so many other moving parts in a partnership, not just the results that you generate. Once you decided what kind of pricing you will be using for your service, the next part is to use anchoring. So anchoring is where you give the client a big number that they then begin referencing your service with. So let's say you want to charge 6.5K a month. You can say that our service is usually 15K a month. They begin like already calculating in their head. 15K a month is going to take this much out of our budget. That means that we're going to have to take away money from this. Like they begin calculating based on 15K a month, and then you just come through and say, no, but it's actually going to only be 6.5K a month because of reason. And the way you do this anchoring is by breaking down your service into the different parts. I'm going to use paid ads as an example. Part 1 could be the actual media buying, so you being in the ad account, actually launching ads, optimizing, doing all of that technical stuff. Part 2 could be the content, so you producing the graphics, the videos, everything that's used in the content, while part 3 could, for example, be the reporting or creative strategy. Just different elements that you already include in your service. Break them down, give each of them a price, then present that as your offer. But lastly, say that if we bundle everything together, you will only pay 6.5K a month, because then they have this huge anchor in their mind. Let's say 15K and you say only 6.5, and it sounds like the deal of a lifetime. Lastly, this all comes down to belief. How much does the person believe in you, and how much do they believe in the fact that you can deliver them results? If you have an incredible amount of belief, you can charge 100K a month. That's no issue. But in the beginning, that's kind of the issue. You don't have any social proof. You don't have any case studies to show to. So you have to build the belief other ways. And belief consists of 3 parts. For someone to believe in you, they have to know you, they have to like you, and they have to trust you. Know you is kind of self-explanatory. If they're on a sales call with you, they already know you. So I'm going to ignore that one. but like and trust are the ones that are difficult to build. And the way you do this is by building a personal brand and by building results. And by personal brand, I don't mean that you necessarily have to be posting on LinkedIn or on YouTube or on Instagram. Not personal brand in the sense of social media, but personal brand in the sense of what kind of aura you give off on sales calls, how confident you are, how you talk. And that has a lot to say when you are trying to close clients, and also, of course, the results that you generate. That's why performance is such an amazing model, because you get to prove yourself without the client having to commit any money to you doing your work. Then you deliver results and you get paid in proportion. So make sure that these two are as maxed out as possible. Imagine that you are a video game character and you have to max out these two stats to reach your goals. Put everything together, the amount, the anchoring, and the belief, and you have the price that you are going to be charging for your service. Next are up, down, and cross sells, how we increase the average value of each customers. You have, as I said, 3 different type of sells. You have upsells, you have cross sells, and you have down sells. Let's start with upsells and cross sells. An upsell is more of what they already have. So if you are offering paid ads, you can add another channel. If you are offering email marketing, you can add another type of email, just do more of what they already have and charge more for that. While cross sells are something additional, something new, something that complements the main service, but that is something additional. So if you are doing email marketing, you can do CRO. If you're doing paid ads, you can do email marketing, a separate service that gives them separate value, but that kind of plays into the main service. You don't want to have completely different services. You don't want to be offering roofing and lead generation services at the same time. Those are completely different business models. So keep it relevant to what you are offering. There are 2 different types of cross sells. You have a different service and you have a complementing service. As I said, a different service, I would not venture into this because there is just no point. There are amazing email marketing agencies out there. There are amazing SMS marketing agencies out there. And if you're trying to master several services at once, you are going to fail on all of them. So select one niche or one type of industry that you are going to be working in, let's say paid ads or email marketing, and only offer complementing services and directly related services. Don't try to have this full stack agency that offers absolutely everything. So let's say you are running a paid ads agency. A complementing service in this case could, for example, be CRO, so conversion rate optimization. You generate them traffic and then you help them with actually converting that traffic. That is a very complementing service, but again, it is something kind of additional, so it requires more input from you. It requires you to hire more team members down the line. So I recommend having a directly related service that directly impacts the main service that you are offering. So in a paid ads agency, that could, for example, be content, so you can upsell them on content. If you are doing media buying, say we're going to produce your content as well for 2-3K a month, you can offer UGC, which is user generated content, a specific type of content, but I put it in its own bucket. Or you could, for example, offer tracking. So conversion tracking, super important for paid ads. You could offer that as an additional service to your existing clients. And all of these directly related services will also make your main service better, and you will get paid more. So it's like a win-win-win situation on every single level. So I really recommend, if you are planning on upselling, start with directly related services, but don't venture into this before you have mastered your main service and before you have scaled to 30, 40, 50K a month, because the market is huge. Don't get this shiny object syndrome of trying to offer everything at once. Get good at paid ads, offer paid ads, earn a shit ton of money from paid ads, and then once you feel that your business is kind of slowing down, you can begin implementing directly related services as a type of revenue expansion. The next type of sell is a downsell. It is exactly what you think. It is a way to still close someone even if they can't afford your main service. So you have a couple different types of downsells. You have a done with you downsell. So if you have your main offer, let's say it's 7K a month, they can't afford it, they can only afford to pay you 3 or 4K a month, you can close them on a done with you deal where you guide them to achieve the result that you usually generate in your done for you service. You can have a DIY offer, like a course where you just give them all the information. You don't guide them, they just use the information to try to make it work on their own. You can offer a light version of your main service, so you spend less time, you put them in some kind of junior pod, or you can offer one-time setups. I have different opinions on each one of these. I really prefer the done with you and the light version downsells because they still get the experience of working with you and getting mostly the same results that they would get from your done for you service. You can still charge a considerable amount for these services, usually 70% of the price of your main service, and they are much more likely to actually later on upgrade to your done for you service because you will generate them amazing results, because you actually have some accountability in these versions where you are kind of responsible for the results. So you still have to put in the effort, you have to generate them results, and instead once they are ready, they will upgrade to your done for you service. Do it yourself, I don't like, it's like a course. You have no accountability. You don't know if the person is watching the course or not. There's just no way of actually making sure that people get results with a do-it-yourself course. So I don't recommend this one, while one in the middle is a one-time setup, where with paid ads, a client comes to you, they're like, we don't want a monthly management, but we want you to set up our ads. Usually this is about 120% of the main service in terms of price. So if you are charging 10K a month, you would charge about 12K for this as a one-time fee. You set up the ads, you do the content, you give it to them, and then they begin managing it themselves. This could be an easy cash grab if they don't want this like subscription-based offer, but again, prefer one of these two instead over the one-time setup. Again, don't be too naive with these upsells, downsells, cross-sells. You don't need them in the beginning. Focus on your main offer, and once you begin building up some clients and you begin building up a pipeline that is not closing on your main offer, you can begin implementing these other types of offers in your agency. Lastly, the perception. All of this is fine and dandy. We have the model, we have the amount, we have the up, down, and cross sells, but how do we package this to actually get the person to close and for them to feel like this is the deal of a lifetime? A couple of different elements. The first one is positioning. How are you positioned in the market? You could be a commodity or you can be in a market of one. A commodity is where a person looks at your agency, looks at another agency and thinks these two are completely equal. I'm just going to go for the cheaper one. That is exactly where you don't want to be. That is the worst positioning possible in the agency game because you have no actual advantage over your competitors, and it all comes down to price, and we want to be charging premium prices, so you won't be able to do that with a commodity positioning. So again, you will be competing on price, terms, and features, but not on the actual results that you deliver. In a market of one, you have such amazing results, you have such amazing case studies, you have such a personal brand that people just don't see any equivalence to your agency, and in this case they begin judging you based on your results, based on the trust that they have, and based on the value that you provide. And this is exactly where you want to be, because this is where you will have the best clients that are the least of a headache, and you will be able to charge premium prices. Next, delivery vehicle, how you actually position your service. You can charge based on time. That is, for example, hourly. Every single hour you work for the client, you charge a fixed amount. That can be volume. So if you produce 10 statics, you get paid for 10 statics. But the best model is charging based on results. This all comes back to the performance model, where you charge based on the results that you bring, because you don't want to be limited by your time or by your output. If it only takes you 30 minutes a week to generate a business, an additional $1 million in revenue every single month, and you charge 100K for that, you won't be able to do that in a volume or time-based delivery vehicle, only in a results-based one. You don't want the volume and time to matter. You want your client to only look at the results that you generate, not how much time or how much effort you put into actually delivering those results. And lastly, just like a quick tip, use random numbers. So when you are pitching your offer, don't say that you are charging $6.99, say that you are charging $6,874, just like a random number that is close to the one you want, but that looks random, because then it feels like you have actually done some calculations and that there is some basis behind the price, because pricing fundamentally is just a subjective thing. You kind of just shoot out a number that you want to get. There is no real math behind it, so you have to make it look like there is some math behind it. And this is just all psychology. Again, don't overthink it. Don't spend too much time reading psychology books, because that is not the highest leverage thing that you can do in your pricing, but it is a quick, easy bonus that you can pick up. So that was my 4-step framework for pricing your services. As I said, this has allowed me to scale my agency to 75K a month and charge upwards of 15K a month from a single client for just managing their Google ads. And if you are stuck between 0 and 8K MRR with your digital agency, I am opening up 3 slots to work with me personally one-on-one, where I will guide you to implement all the frameworks that I use to scale my own agency to 75K a month. It's not a do-it-yourself course, so don't worry about that. It is a one-on-one thing where we will together scale your agency. So if that sounds interesting, reach out to me on Instagram. Let's talk about it. Other than that, have an amazing week, and I'll see you at the top.